You good to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, round three. Jackson,
Okay.
B-Bar Ranch, we're rolling. Okay, we're going to get it right this time. So, B-Bar Ranch, what is it? What do you guys do?
Yeah, B-Bar Ranch. We are a producer of organic beef, and we also host guest retreats in Tom Miner Basin, and we also produce beef in Big Timber, Montana.
What year was the ranch founded, or what year did your family take ownership of it?
Yeah, so my grandma Mary Ann purchased B-Bar Ranch back in 1978. So we're coming up on her 50 year, which is a pretty big deal. She's still is the general manager and operator of the place. And yeah, it's been a really fun ride working with her.
Very cool. So the ranch, what's the, you do the retreats there. What's the layout? How many people? Like, just give me the
Yeah.
DL on it.
Yeah, the ranch for 2027, we're building a couple new facilities to get up to be able to host 25 to 50 people comfortably. We can host some smaller groups as well, but that 25 number to 50 really keeps that intimate atmosphere. We want you to feel like you're coming into our home, which you are, and treat you with that quality of service. And we find that, if you have more people than that, it's hard to maintain that intimacy. And we want people to have that interaction with the place, with their group, and make sure that it's something that they feel like comfortable walking into.
I don't know if I asked you this before. Is it always been a guest ranch or no?
So the ranch had been a guest ranch before 1978. It had been a hunting lodge. It started out with just the 6 A-frames and the lodge, and now there's a lot more outbuildings and different accommodations and facilities. And since 1978, it's been a dude ranch. It's been just a family retreat. And also, what it's been mostly is a place where nonprofits come and gather. So, different organizations, especially local Montana organizations in the conservation community, they would come and stay and gather. And it was basically at my grandma's home where they would come and push their agenda. And the place just fosters gathering and innovative thinking. It's such a beautiful, natural place that, yeah, we're still hosting nonprofit groups today, in addition to lots of wellness groups like yoga retreats, meditation retreats, uh, for-profit groups. So maybe it's a business who's looking to do some strategic planning, even a couple family reunions or weddings here and there as well.
Yeah, I asked because I was thinking, did it make this transition just because of the way the economy's evolved over the years, or has it always had that hospitality element, which it sounds like it has with your grandmother? So that's
Mhm.
something she's always been cultivating there.
Yeah, she's always felt that it's an important thing to share with people. Um, it's not her land. She never will claim it. It's just a place that she's stewarding for now. And to share that experience with other people who really appreciate the place has really always been her goal, to bring people in that are going to leave with something greater than how they came in. And yeah, so I mean, it's always important to have a diverse um, portfolio when it comes to being a rancher and having multiple different enterprises. But the guest ranch has been something significant for her since starting.
How in depth have you talked with her about how she kind of cultivated that mindset, or do you know where that came from? Because I mean, that's an awesome mindset to have, but it's not
Yeah.
something that happens by accident.
Man, like, she loves talking about her past, and I'm fortunate enough to still work for her. And we have those dinner conversations that go till 11 p.m. when we're both barely still awake. And you learn a lot about family history and the history of place, but also her decision making is a huge part of that. She was in her 30s when she uh, came into B-Bar Ranch, and she had a lot of background at that point, focused background in conservation work happening in California around the oil spills. And it brought her up to Montana to protest mines. And that's just to simplify the story, but she could add a lot more color. And, her main objective was really to help a place that needed some perspective, and not to just continuously destroy the natural environment into such a beautiful place like Montana. And she wasn't searching for a place like Bee-Bar Ranch. I don't think you could ever search for something like that. It really found her. And once it found her, she couldn't think of any other place that she would want to be able to steward.
Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. And if you don't know what Mountain Mule is, we provide private transportation services and Yellowstone National Park tours. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, consider following the show. Whether you're using our services directly or following and sharing the show, those simple actions help support this business as well as the businesses and guests that have been a part of the show. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses, local jobs, and this beautiful state. Now back to the show.
Yeah, in that winter of 78, when snow was higher than the jack link fences, they snowmobiled in, took a look around, they flew over in a plane, and it was enough for her to fall in love with it and commit to her first summer there as a rancher.
That's so cool. And that's when she bought it.
Yep.
Very cool. I think about that often with all the growth going on in Bozeman, and it's a very common subject in all Southwest Montana is, haven't we learned, like, just as humans, as a culture, we've probably learned from so many examples of small towns that became big cities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if, like, why, but I mean, I do this as a human too, so I'm going to take that back. I do know why. Sometimes we just repeatedly will make the same mistakes over and over again, but it's very cool that she came there with that mindset of, hey, I'm seeing these things that aren't done right, and maybe I can go to this place and help cultivate, something like some real intentionality to how this place is being operated.
Yeah, it's been a total mirror of her vision at Bee-Bar Ranch since the start. It's something where she puts conservation at the forefront. Her decision making always aligns with her values, all the way down to small decisions, because it's so important to her that these things are in alignment. And being the guiding light and the visionary like that for a place, I think the place is better off because of it. And her work outside of just Bee-Bar resembles that too, but to see it happen in, a container of just one place, I think has gained her a lot of respect for doing things differently. They were the weirdos in the neighborhood doing practices that were, now considered organic or regenerative before there was really a word. I think sustainable might have been a word, back then. And they were the weirdo hippies, like, why wouldn't you use fertilizers or additives to produce a crop or an animal? And that was just within her values. She never thought that adding poison to the earth was something that helped foster life, and that's what she believes in, that she's in the business of creating life, not killing it.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so ahead of her time. And I remember the pushback in my family's farm because we started selling raw milk. My mother started it, and it was sometime in the, I'm gonna totally kind of guessing, but maybe like 2015-ish. And that was the response, is like, why are you doing this? And it just goes against so much of the mass thinking of just the way commercial agriculture is done. And I had resistance in it myself. I don't know if I've talked about that, but now I see it so much differently. And I kind of laugh at myself, and I have a lot of sympathy for anyone. And I'm not saying like I have all the answers now, but I see it from a different perspective, just from the thought of health, wanting to eat food healthy, wanting to, have a good impact on the land, and wanting friends and family to be healthy. And, all those things are so intertwined from like, if you start skimping on like, oh, well, we'll just, we just do this because we get more production, this and that. And there's a downstream ripple effect to all that stuff.
Yeah. And keeping that whole system mindset in your decision making to know, well, the downstream effects I might not understand right now, but what does that look like in 20 years, 100 years? Or maybe it's not even affecting me. Maybe it's affecting another player in this overall system. And I should be mindful of that, because it isn't all about me as a human. But like you're saying, there's resistance there. It's hard to not be a product of our environment, and our environment and those decisions are, well, as a conventional farmer, you get subsidies. As a conventional farmer, you're doing it like your neighbors do. So you get their insight. And to kind of stick your neck out far for things that you believe in takes a lot of vulnerability. And like, you don't necessarily know you're doing it's right. If you know what, like, the end goal isn't so clear, you're kind of having to um, really ride for what you believe in. And maybe those things aren't evident right away.
And that's not an easy thing to do as a human in general when you're
Hmm.
when you're going against society, let's say regardless of what it is, to feel so isolated and alone. And it's like, I think it goes all the way back in human history of just the way people were shamed and kicked out of tribes, and it was a survival thing. It's in us to, we want
Hmm.
to fit into our group and be accepted. And
Hmm.
it takes I think a lot of foresight and insight
Hmm.
to have the courage and strength. But I'd imagine she would have a different perspective coming from another state and seeing.
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like when you grow up, you might do things different than your parents because you have the perspective of the way you were treated, and then your kids probably have perspective of the way you raise them. And I think that's how we evolve.
Hmm.
But it's weird that there's so much. It's not weird. It's human that there's so
Hmm.
much division and tension. But that's very cool that
Mm.
she's been doing that for that long.
Yeah.
And the thought with the hospitality was it from an educational standpoint to let people know what's going on there and share it with them?
Mm. So there's always a sticking point with the word education because that's so one directional. Like,
Hmm.
it's me teaching you. And so the word learning has come up more often on this topic. And that's because there's so much to learn from the people who are visiting, just as much as you are as the steward of a place or from your own background. It's always takes both parts. I mean, we wouldn't have anything to share if you weren't here listening, and vice versa. We want to learn from you. So all these groups that had come, especially in the early years, they're bigger organizations now, and so there's certainly tons to learn from them. And still today, there's always something that we try to learn from our groups, and we host some pretty unique and inspiring groups that help us understand, well, where do we want to push the envelope today. Um, and so, yeah, that learning was never just like, oh, let me share with. It was never self-important. It was almost the opposite. It was always trying to do it with a little humility. What we're trying at the ranch is always something that we're doing with our best intentions, and we're just trying not to mess it up, and if we do mess it up, let's acknowledge it. That's how we learn and grow. So it's been a constant try and evaluate and share, because overall that'll help all boats rise with the tide. So.
Yeah, I see that so much in nature. It's like, just get out of the way. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? The more we're trying to micromanage and control everything, the more I don't know. I don't know why it's like when we can just kind of get back to that and let things float.
Hmm.
It's got a process and a
Yeah.
system that's very outside of our sort of you know human desires.
Hmm.
And before we go way down a rabbit hole, I
Hmm.
did want you to bring up, you guys are still hiring, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Say what that is, and I'll make sure I share it too. But I want
Sure.
people to know that too.
Yeah. So our busiest season at B-Bar is June through October. That's our main retreat season in Tom Miner Basin. Our beef business is fairly consistent. We finish beef throughout the year. But our summer is definitely the busiest on all fronts, especially at the retreat. And that's what we hire for in the summer, are seasonal positions for people to come and work. So we're still hiring for guest service seasonal roles, which would be the hospitality side of the business. That's the accommodations and the dining, and helping support this small team to really facilitate group experience as well. So it's me, it's another person. We're hiring for 6 guest service support staff in total, and we have people who are returning. It's just such a cool opportunity, not just for the work that you're doing at B-Bar, but so much of what I've gotten out of working and being there is the sense of like the small town that is B-Bar. There's so many little family units there. There are people who come in and out for guests, and they're sharing their experiences, but you learn a lot and you develop this friendship and family kinship with people, and you really grow a lot. So, especially for people who are looking to have that type of an experience, You might call it mentorship, you might call it just community. Yeah, we're still accepting applicants. So if you're interested in a seasonal role this year or for upcoming years, just reach out. You can find us at bbar.com to apply.
Is there a is there somebody with a background that makes them more of an ideal candidate? Like, is there anyone in particular you advise to apply?
Yeah, for these positions, we're really focused on personality, like the work that you're doing. It's great if you have experience in some sort of hospitality, whether that's working at a restaurant or working at a hotel, but it's really not where we think is the most important part. We think, are you a team player? Um, what's your overall demeanor? Are you a can-do person and willing to roll with it? Are you open to trying new things? Because you definitely won't have to do the same thing every day if the opportunity arises. So, um, yeah, just reach out. If you're open to trying something new, I think it's a good place to start.
Awesome. I mean, with the just hearing the backstory of your grandmother and then that, like, it makes it a very appealing position.
Yeah.
If I had some more time on my hand, I'd do it.
Yeah.
It's fun. Like, as someone who grew up on a farm, I think very different from this in a lot of senses, but it's a very diverse occupation, and it's very much a lifestyle
hmm
because you're helping the whole team get the
hmm
get the animals taken care of and
hmm
the guests taken care of in this and and the land
Yeah.
all in the same.
There's so many facets of it. Like you're saying, like the different enterprises are one thing. So there's so much to learn about agriculture, even if you're in the hospitality operation, because we're so deep in there as well. And I think overall, something that everybody gleans from being at B Bar, whether you're a guest, you're a longtime employee, you're a family member, or you're somebody just driving on the public road, it's this sense of place. And what I mean by that is there's so many elements in this ecosystem and the environment that are at are at stake as well. And humans are just one piece of that. So it makes you feel a real uh, resemblance with nature, and you're just a part of it. You're nowhere near as old as that tree, especially nowhere near as old as that rock or piece of petrified wood. So it makes you feel small in the grander scheme of things on a way that you can digest. And yeah, it's really a special place to just be as a human.
Yeah. Do you guys serve a lot of the beef on the farm too?
Yeah, we serve beef. That's something we highlight with our guests, and we try to make sure that we're showing different parts of the animal, so we're not just doing tenderloin, right? We like to cook
Why
maybe
not? Come on,
something.
man.
Oh my gosh, like trust me, like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a great cut, and you know, yeah, I gave to you the other day some. I think they were New Yorks. Those
New
are
York's are ribeyes, and
yeah,
I'm like a ribeye guy.
you're a ribeye
Like,
guy.
yeah, I think a ribeye over tenderloin personally.
hmm
But yeah, and too, I'm glad you brought that up because thank you very much for that
Yeah.
generous gift, and I'm very excited to eat it.
Well, and it's so good no matter if you're preparing it correctly, it can be fantastic.
Mhm.
And it's a real lean cut. So we like to make things for our guests that are kind of on the broad spectrum, depending what the chef wants to cook. Like one day it might be oxtail, the next day it could be tenderloin, stew meat for a chili. It really just depends on the day and what do we have on hand. I think it's important. Similar, we try to source local products from other ranchers nearby, so we'll do the same thing, with lamb or chicken or what have you.
When you guys are serving these meals to the guest, and I think if I remember right, you said you have a lot of family style, like dinner table
Mhm.
meals. Do you guys put a big emphasis on, a lot of these animals came from this land. This is part of a much bigger picture than just a meal we're eating. Do you guys like help some of the guests and people see that
Mhm.
connection?
Definitely. I think it's really important, if you could imagine sitting in a dining room that feels like, like you're at your own home. The chef will come out and explain what you're eating. We're really excited about our chef this year, George. He's coming in with background of the local area and with his own connections and storytelling. And how he talks about food with me is such a genuine passion to really relate to people. And, just share that story about, yeah, where is this animal coming from? Like, what part of the animal are we are we using tonight? And even if you're a vegetarian, similar thing, we're talking about where we got the local veggies from, why it's curated in the way it's curated. Maybe it's a themed dish that relates to a certain part of, human history, for example. Um, it's cool. And I can't wait to just be in that room listening to the chef and trying it myself this summer.
Yeah, there's something to that intentionality of, what you're eating, where it came from, how it was raised, and how you're, coming together to enjoy it as a group. I like to put kind of regardless of your beliefs, there's something cool about
Hmm.
that entire experience. And something I took it for granted much more as a kid growing up because I didn't
Hmm.
understand it. But as I get older and see that, that's very cool
Hmm.
that type of opportunity is available to people.
Yeah. And beyond, I don't know if we gone there, but I'll just lead myself in. But we typically host retreat groups. So during our summer, we host exclusive retreats, and that's from 25 to 50 people, like I said. But there's also opportunities as locals. So people listening to this, there's different events that we like to do, whether it's a ranch to table dinner. Last year, we did Echoes in the Basin. String quartet band came and played in a pasture, and we had more casual meal service of burgers, dogs, and other sides. And that was so fun. Just gathering with this intentionality, just to show like this is the place that we get to steward, and we want to share that with people, especially in the local area. So even if you don't have a nonprofit that you want to bring to the ranch and have a whole retreat, there's different opportunities to come and be a part of this experience, and that's something we're excited in this in-house, hosting way of really opening up to some of the more local audiences.
If somebody wanted to do a weekend getaway and there wasn't an event, is there options there for people?
Yeah, so the best time to do that is in the winter time. We open up our West Bunkhouse and maybe other accommodations as well for people to come and stay. They'll do their own cooking at that point. We're working on some different ways to have the winter resemble the summer with interaction as far as small groups with the chef experience.
Uh-huh.
Um, Now, I think another fun way to do that, we're doing our signature stay. It's a retreat that I'm hosting in the end of September. And that's a great way to come, you and a partner, or just come alone. Even last year we had our first one. I think 16 people came. It was awesome. People from all over the region, a couple people from even the East Coast came. And it was just, what do we do at B-Bar in our day? We went horseback riding. It's the rut at that time. So we're listening to animals. We're seeing animals right in front of us. It's just a special experience to come. So the signature stay is a great opportunity. The winter time is fun just to come, more Airbnb style, and the cross country skiing. That's our main feather in the hat for winter time. We have 20 plus miles of groomed cross country trails. So if you're into skiing, come on over. It's a fun time.
And any of the events in the summertime retreats, that's pretty all inclusive as far as meals and
Yeah.
what you're doing there.
Yeah, when we do those events, we'll open up the opportunity to stay the night. It'll be, opening up our accommodations. We'll do some sort of breakfast service with that. If you want to just come for the evening, we'll have a ticket for that too. And each of these events has been so uniquely special, on a case by case basis. So I'm excited to share with what events we have coming up in the next few weeks.
Do you have anything like coming up soon that's going on?
So we don't have any specific. I have a couple dates that we're figuring out because 2026 summer is fully booked. We're booked with exclusive retreats through June through October. So now I see those couple gaps on the calendar. One's in July, one's in August, and that's likely when we'll offer some of these events, middle of July, middle of August, maybe beginning of September as well. But yeah, look at our social media and our website, subscribe to our newsletter, all that type of fun stuff to hear about, what's happening and when. Yeah, because these events we kind of try to keep intimate. We don't want to blow them out. Maybe one day we'll do a blowout type of festival or whatever. But at this point, we just want to keep it simple so that the guests can really walk away with something that was special for them.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the B-Bar annual, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That could be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a season where you guys are fully closed between the winter and summertime?
kind of right now, mud
Mm.
season in April, November. It just kind of gives us a chance to reset, do some construction, different projects. There's always an exception. Like we have a group coming this April just because it worked out.
Mhm.
But yeah, our off season tend to be November and April.
I know some of the hotels and resorts, at least in the Big Sky area that we work with, are their shoulder season is becoming less and less
Mhm.
because people are seeing, oh, I can, we can get such better rates kind of in this off season. But it is a little bit of a different animal when you guys aren't a hotel
Mhm.
and a resort. You're not, it's not all concrete blacktop. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to think about is, how
Mhm.
accessible is the land? Are we going to destroy everything because it's muddy? And
Yeah.
what are the rivers doing when there's runoff? And
I think it's something we're open to. Right now, we're doing lots of construction on kind of this next phase of what does B-Bar look like. We have so much interest in April and May, increasingly, as you said, like that there is more interest in Montana generally. We all know that. And so we're open to certain things. Right now, what we're building is a new kitchen and dining facility we're calling The Gathering. It's going to be at the far end of the A-frame cabins. It'll dine up to 50 people comfortably, really beautiful, big open window type of space. And so we're really excited for that to be done for summer 2027. And right now we're taking inquiries and reservations for 2027 summer. So if you want to be a part of that, like first phase of this new B-Bar ranch, really. It's going to be an exciting time. Uh, it's it's something that we're really looking forward to having those groups come for their first time, but want to come visit year after year, every couple years. That's the most of our groups now are returning guests, and we're seeing these, groups who are interested in that bigger size, 40 people. They're going to want to come every year, and we're
yeah,
excited for those relationships.
yeah, I'd imagine a lot of people come and experience that kind of thing, and it becomes a annual thing.
Hmm.
That'd be cool having that big of a group in that kind of setting together.
Yeah.
Very fun. I mean, what else should people know about B Bar as a whole when they're coming there,
Yeah.
just in general?
And so I'm focusing heavily on the retreat because that's my role. And the other part of the business is so intertwined. I mean, as a network of our team, the beef business and the cattle operation, it's all such a part of who we are as B-Bar. When you're on that Zoom meeting, or if you were to look at us at the big table and Tom Miner all talking, all these parts are considered every meeting. It's not just the retreat. That's just how we share it with folks. But the beef operation has a lot going on now too. We're growing. We're just selling more beef than ever before, kind of have some more diverse customers than ever before. You've been able to buy our beef at the co-op for years. Now Regen Market is an online protein and distributor, and they're also doing some other cool things. We might have a dinner series with them this
Oh, nice.
summer.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can buy beef directly to your door. Among some other fun things about in our customer base, we're just raising the herd, and with that comes so many intricate scenarios when it comes to what our relationships with our producers look like. We're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, organic beef producer in the state. And what that means is we're buying cattle from all the organic cattle producers in the state. So that landscape of being a part of the Montana Organic Association and all those individual relationships, it has such a significant part of stewarding the land and stewarding these businesses. And yeah, like that's a lot of stuff that ends up going behind the scenes when it comes to the public eye of end beef consumer. But there's some really innovative things we're working on there, especially when you're on the land, you get to see it. So if you're interested in coming to check out the land, we'll give you a tour. That's something that is important to us to share what we're doing. In Big Timber, we got a big composting operation. We're spreading seeds. We're doing these different things on a land that's completely different than Tom Miner. And Mihail, who runs the operation as the beef production manager, man, he will talk your ear off about soil, and you never thought you'd be so interested about learning what a soil microbe was and how much organic matters in the soil and building vitality and life from literally the soil up. It's really neat. So if, where those intersect and combine with our retreats, we share some of that stuff with our guests. We want them to know about what projects we have going on. Why do we care about what we're doing? So when you are a retreat guest, you walk away with some of that. You're not just coming, staying like it's a hotel and then you leave, gaining nothing from the venue other than a bed. No, you are leaving with so much more than that. You're learning from B-Bar, but also you're learning about yourself while you're there.
That's a great statement.
Yeah.
That's so cool that it's not just the ranch, and nothing wrong with if it is just the ranch, but
Right.
that you guys have a whole working side operation, and it's so much bigger than that. I think that's such a cool window into the whole life of agriculture and organic agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are doing a lot of regenerative practices in big timber to maintain the soil
Mm-hmm.
health. And
Yeah, so the land over in Big Timber and north of Big Timber, that side of the Crazy Mountains was so overgrazed for over 100 years by sheep. In World War II, that's where the most of our wool came from, was there. And so this land that's already more high prairie type than mountain type, like it is in Tom Miner, there's less water. The land has been overgrazed and overfarmed for years, so there's just less soil. And so as we're trying to build soil organically without the use of fertilizers or tilling and, just getting rid of all life in there and in the ground. The composting is a big part of the operation where Pioneer Meats, which is just 15 minutes down the road from us, that's where we finish our cattle. And we're getting paid to take back all the slaughter waste from them. We turn it into compost, and then we spread that compost on less productive ground. We're even adding some wells and different irrigation methods on that less productive ground. So then the entire place there can be grazed. In a year like this, we're about to turn our cattle out to pasture for probably the earliest ever, just because it's ready. The ground has stayed open. Grass is growing right now. If you look around, if you're in Bozeman, things are coming alive. It's April. It's about a month early. So we're about to put cattle out to pasture, but you look up to the Crazy Mountains, there's still snow up there, so it's going to be an interesting summer coming up. And our practices will shift yet again. We will be proven wrong yet again. We will try new things. And what Mihail and Shay, Randy, Esme down there are doing, it's really cool. I always love going to Big Timber and hearing what's happening on the ground.
it always makes me nervous just as my farmer genes in me when it starts getting warm really early.
Mm-hmm.
Because, then you get stuff start to grow, and then you get a pretty bad frost and it shocks everything. And then it's kind of got to start over. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of at the point where you hope it stays warm, and it's, we just get a lot of precipitation and moisture.
Yeah. Yeah, we can just hope for that. And, Mihail will talk about La Nina year and kind of, if we put positive stuff out there to just, try not to overthink it as the human, we can only do so much. Yeah, but we're doing fun things too. It's Earth Day's coming up. We're going to do a tree planting to bring trees back to Big Timber. And it just, trying different things. It's been a really windy and dry year there. With how warm it's been, it's also been super windy. There's been some fires lately started by electrical fires. And there's a lot of reason to kind of feel worried and down, but realistically, there's only so much you can do. So we're doing the most with what the cards that we have dealt, and keeping note of it so we can learn from it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember that my whole life growing up, and I was doing like more in the hay business side when I was a younger adult, and you're at the mercy of the weather, and you just got to learn how to work with it and not fight it. But at some point, your hands are tied, and this is what you're given. Now, what can we do with this? And that's kind of the farmer's ethos and mentality. Kind of back to when you were talking about hiring. Are you somebody who's going to figure things out? Because there's no other option when you have animals to feed and land to care for. Is you gotta you gotta make sure that's what my father always said, like the cows are the most important thing. Like, so I gotta make sure they're taken care of and they're happy. And then everything's kind of like, to make sure they're the most important thing, you got to make sure you're taking care of the land so they're fed. And that all ties together, but it's about the priorities, and then
Mm-hmm.
the weather's just the weather.
Yeah, I think like you just try to have systems in place, like we're just as impacted by the low snow year without being able to ski and like the lower quality of life for a skier, right? And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling, but when it comes to trying to think about the future, it's like, well, we could worry about the summer, but just as you could worry about anything. What's our protocols? What's our fire ERP? What's our what are our resources in the area so that if what hits the fan, we're prepared. And I think we try to think about those sides of things more than the impending doom, because if you start going down
Yeah,
that
yeah.
rabbit hole, it's hard. It's hard to stay above water.
And I think probably to like give grace to like any commercial practices and everything, that like most of that I think was an attempt to regulate some of this stuff, because
Mm-hmm.
what can you do when there's no rain and you need to get a certain amount of crop for your animals?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe if you could fertilize, you could have twice as much crop. And I think it's all well meaning. Nobody's like, I want to poison everything and destroy this land, but just as we evolve, we see. But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of back to that. Like there's a way to do both things, and it might take longer and it might cost more, but ultimately it I think it'll give you a lot more too.
Yeah.
But and then you're like, part of it you're doing that, and the other part of it you're trying to correct
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff that didn't go well. So you're
Yeah.
doing two things. You're not just maintaining and sustaining,
Mm-hmm.
regenerating. You're also correcting, like you said, that
Yeah.
stuff that was overgrazed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If anybody who's listening is interested, some of my favorite resources the last handful of years has been Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's about that relationship with land, and from the native perspective as well. It's a really awesome read, as well as a couple movies, Kiss the Ground, and then more recently Common Ground by the same people. It talks about, the chemical industry and what that means, and kind of just shedding a new light for the kind of the first time. And I know it's more popular now to talk about it, and it's in politics with the glyphosate and like, the big chemical producers.
Uh-huh.
Um, but
Monsanto.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all that, and there's some education there, and it's just things that we try to pay attention to as well.
Growing up, like everyone's culture is different that they grow up in. Healthy food, just always had this stigma that healthy food is not going to be very good. And yeah, it's like it's for hippies, or
Hmm.
but it's never good, and it's never like there's so many interesting narratives to what healthy food is, and then
Hmm.
thinking about it as a little bit more mature adult.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's healthy for my body. It was probably healthy for the
Hmm.
land. It just makes sense.
Hmm.
But I just being a nature of my or a product of my environment, it's like it's
Hmm.
funny to see that that was the
Yeah,
narrative. The global or national narrative was much more like
yeah,
mass production and convenience. And
yeah. And we're lucky where we live, right? I mean, it's not only the most beautiful place and so much like going on that we love about this, but it's also where people are open to that, that experience. There's people who hunt, like that's such a big part of our culture here. And, you're hunting for the food that you're now putting on your table, and people understand that relationship a bit better. And when you start understanding that relationship, you're like, well, I don't want that animal to be eating poison, because then I'm eating poison too,
yeah,
and, I think that about this community and people who are interested in Montana, and I just feel blessed. And sometimes it is an echo chamber. It's such a amazing culture here because we have all these amazing resources, but also it's like spreading that word to people who maybe don't have that same access to knowledge and information or even food. It's important to try and be in a lead by example. And, I think also just recognize how good we have it here.
yeah. I try to be careful when I don't get crazy into this, just because I'm not directly in the agriculture space. But there's got to be a give and take, because we have kind of so much infrastructure and stuff that we've built,
Hmm.
whether for better or worse. So it's not like you can just flip a switch. And like from what I understand, if we flipped a switch and went full organic in the whole country, we'd run out of food. But if we're if we're trending that way and evolving things at a pace, because anything, if you just changed anything really drastically,
Mm-hmm.
it could have a pretty catastrophic effect,
Yeah.
even if it's not the best way to do things. But I think as we get more educated, we can keep improving with time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some things we can speed up and streamline too, but
Yeah.
I always try to at least be a little bit, like not to like swing really hard one way, because I may have the other way. Just try to like have that
Mm-hmm.
nuance of thought and be a little bit
Yeah.
bipartisan about some of the,
Yeah.
as I'm comparing it to politics, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just,
Well, it's a political thing right now
yeah.
too, and I won't necessarily go there. I think the important part to consider is, when was the last time you did something once and did it well? You know, like we did this podcast this second take because we felt like we could do it better. And
Second for this episode,
yes.
third overall.
Yeah. But like that's everything, you know. And for the organic piece, for instance, like if you are interested in organic or even curious, I think just approach everything with curiosity, including the organic thing. Like, if you, for one, if you want to learn, we'd be happy to share with you what it looks like to get there. It only takes a couple of years to get there. It changes practices. We're there to help. But also just ask a neighbor. Ask a neighbor what they've got going on. Be curious, you know. I think that's something I love about Montana, is that neighborly aspect. And when it comes to anything, just be curious about somebody else's experience, and you'll probably glean something from it, you know.
Yeah, and if you don't believe us, go back and listen to like episode 10, because this will be episode 100 and something, and you can see, I think, probably a real evolution in both of us, and in the way we're talking and the way we're communicating things, and that's how all progress works in humans. I think we talked about it on the last episode, because you were talking about some of those farm dinners, and Matt at North Bridger Bison does that. I think those things are so invaluable, because I think, the further you get away in a city and you don't see that, you don't have that connection like you might experience at B-Bar, but you can at those dinners really, look around and think, this is where this food came from. This is where it was produced. And I think that is part of the way, change happens over time, because you just have a little bit more perspective and knowledge and information. And when you're so disconnected from it, I don't know, where does your food come from? I've told you I've probably complained more than anything about being on a farm growing up, but I'm very grateful in hindsight, because I learned a lot of things I didn't realize I was learning.
Yeah. I think, there's so much to learn, and just like being open to learn. And even when you were a kid, you didn't know you were open to learn, but you were, because you were moldable and made of rubber and all that.
Yeah. Plastic, right?
Yeah. And, I think that's such a thing that we should carry through in like our adult life, and to, something about, I don't know if it's America or if it's everywhere, but like such a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, can you be open to other people's experience also, and not have to be better, just be your own self, be different? I love that's what Matt is doing over at North Bridger. There's such a North Star in this space in our local area, but also beyond, because they're doing things differently, and because they're sharing it and they're talking about it. They're doing these ranch to table dinners just to share that experience, and you can glean something from them. You're sitting in their yard, it's something that they don't have to do, but they want to do it. They want to share, because I think we have it in common. Like, we want to open up our gates to people to learn with us. And, yeah, and like stay open to that curiosity now, and be involved with it. And even if people do something completely different way, that's fine. Like, we want to talk about that. We want to have that dialogue. But yeah, what Matt and North Bridger Bison are doing is so cool, and yeah, I admire their operation.
Yeah, I really appreciated talking with him, because he was a lawyer. I don't know if he still is practicing law at all, but sometimes when somebody comes out of left field with a different perspective and gets into an industry, and it can be so beneficial. And I'm careful when I say this too, because there's some farmers that have been doing it for so long. Like, we could even, take your grandmother. They have so much knowledge and wisdom. When you combine that with people that come from a totally different place, they just see things differently and can offer so much value. And that it kind of goes back to what you were saying, is people are coming to the ranch to learn, but you guys are also learning from them. And it's a not an easy thing to do. I struggle with it
Mm-hmm.
plenty. Yeah, it's just seeing the way people do things and not having this judgment about it, and then not having this judgment on myself for judging them.
Yeah.
It's a never ending thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like you're fighting your own humanness. So
Mm-hmm.
but it is very cool when that can come together and you can have something like what Matt's doing or what you guys are doing. And those, I haven't been to one of the dinners and I really should go, but we've driven clients. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the area, and I've said this a few times. My sister's on a pretty big ranch quite a ways north of here. And me and my fiance went up for a branding on Memorial Day weekend last year. We branded like 400 calves that day,
Wow.
and the whole neighborhood came together to
Mm-hmm.
do it. And that's how they do it. And that's definitely more of like the Montana old school way. The neighboring ranches help out, and we had a lunch after like the second round of branding, and then at dinner they set up tables out in the field
Mm-hmm.
right when we got done, and we had sloppy joes, and there was probably 30 to 40 of us and kids, and you're sitting out there in this beautiful land up in Chinook, and
Mm-hmm.
it hits you like it hit me. And I grew up on a farm, and I'm thinking, man, this sense of community
Mm-hmm.
and this beef that we're eating came from this ranch. We just helped be a part of this ranch, hopefully in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a special experience, and I think that's very much what Matt's doing and what you guys do.
Yeah. And it's how it's been done forever, right? And I think like what you're saying, like they've like doing these cattle brandings, like this isn't anything new. People have been gathering and eating and sharing space forever. And how do we do that today when we're increasingly distracted? We're increasingly living in cities and have different obligations. That's part of life now. It's just part of it. But can we still have some of that roots of how humans have been for a very long time? And we're trying to help establish that as much as we are, trying to have a business, right? It's like it's important for us to kind of maintain that thread of humanity.
I think when we're talking about this, and I'm thinking of Paul with the bathhouse in Bozeman,
Mm-hmm.
and you think he's paying me because I'm talking about it so much, but it goes back to that same thing. And there's something so special. If you haven't gone, definitely recommend. But because you put your phone away for a couple hours,
Mm-hmm.
and you go sit in this sauna or this cold plunge or the
Mm-hmm.
warm pool, and there's a cool tribal sense of community where you sort of you go into a little bit of a portal for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, depending on how crazy you get with the cold and the hot, there's all those effects, but there's that community effect too, and the conversation. And me and my fiance do it quite a bit for date night.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a pretty cool locals deal too, so you can go a couple times a month. So we'll switch it up and do that as a date night, and I think it's an awesome date night
Mm-hmm.
because we're talking, we don't have our phones,
Yeah.
and we're connecting, and we're doing something physical, and we just
Mm-hmm.
feel awesome
Mm-hmm.
when we leave and the next day.
Yeah.
I think back to these farm dinners and these ranch experiences. That's what we crave as humans, is
Mm-hmm.
that experience.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, gosh, if I tell people night one, if I see your phone out at dinner, I'm taking it,
Mhm.
and it's tongue in cheek, right? Like,
Yeah.
but there's something there. Like when you commit to not being on your phone and being distracted and pay attention to like that voice in your head, that feeling that you have, and that relationship around the table instead of your device, it's so beautiful. I went on a retreat recently, and it was such an amazing experience. I handed in my phone and my laptop day one. I got it back a week later, and all the humanity that took place in that week and learning about myself, about other people. What do you do in that 5 minutes of downtime? You just sit and breathe, or you go grab a book, or you have a conversation, or you draw. Like, I think it's not an experience that it's easy to come by now. And since I haven't been there, or I went a month ago and now I'm here, you got to really set these habits. You got to be intentional about not doing it. So, I mean, like this is total personal life thing, but like lock yourself out of your social media. Don't give yourself distractions. Lower your screen time. Be outside. Just, yeah, these are all things that people will experience at the ranch, but hopefully they can find it on their own in daily life. It's very healthy too.
I do this, and sometimes I think I'm crazy as a business owner. I don't have any social media on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I only have it on my computer. and it's a pain. And then I have a second phone that I'll use to upload stuff with. It's pretty inconvenient. I've thought of it many times. It'd be so much easier if I had it on my phone, but I won't allow myself to do
Mm-hmm.
it. And it's just a discipline because
Mm-hmm.
I get sucked into it on the computer anyway. So it's not like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't get me, but there's a little bit of a barrier there,
Yeah.
and that's taken me a long time to get there. It's just
Mm-hmm.
knowing myself.
Yeah. I love that you have a burner for social media. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's so fun. I actually have two.
Oh my
They're
God.
like old iPhones.
Like there's so much value. I mean, we both benefit off social media in one way or another, but there is that level of, well, I'm using it for good, and then it's boom like that. It's for bad. And for me, mental health bad, for, like, I don't know, what's the use here,
Yeah, what is good out of this? Like if it's
Yeah.
destroying your sense of well-being, but
Hmm.
what are you getting a little more monetization out of your life or business?
Hmm.
Did you do a full week silent retreat?
No, it wasn't a silent retreat. I would like to do one of those though. Yeah.
Yeah, what did you say you did do? Did you say you just did something recently or
Yeah,
no?
I went on a retreat. It was at this place called Onsite in Tennessee. I'm happy to talk about it here, even though it is a little personal because, man, their experience is so cool there. It's a retreat center focused on trauma and different therapy modalities. And so not only was I, becoming more human in the interactions, I got to learn a lot about their retreat center there, and what Miles Adcock, the owner of On Site, has done um, over the last few decades. It's just the coolest place. And yeah, I think things I get to share with people now is that, I get to be a more whole version of myself. I get to have practices that inspire me to be more human on a daily basis, whether that's meditation or less phone time, more legit conversations, saying hi to that homeless guy you walk past instead of, just brushing past them. Give them some time of the day, um, all of that. It was an amazing experience.
This is funny. I'm going to tell you this because this is just like being fully honest. And we talked about this last time because we practice at the same yoga studio,
Mhm.
and Bailey, who owns the yoga studio, was here this morning, and I was telling her that we were talking about it last time. And as a human, as a grown man, as an adult who has no problem doing that, I feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh man, where I grew up and what I
Yeah.
like. I'd be shamed out of the building. So I think that's so cool that you did that, but it's so funny. And I'm saying this with some intention because you guys do some yoga stuff on the ranch. And I know I brought that up last time, but it's like farming and yoga seem like they couldn't be worlds apart. But if
Mhm.
you get back to what people are generally, in a sense, trying to achieve with yoga,
Yeah.
is that connection to themselves and their body.
Mhm.
And when you go to the farm, especially this farm type experience, you're trying to cultivate this connection to the
Yeah.
world and yourself. And I think it's beautiful that you guys have,
Mhm.
have those two going hand in hand. Cause I could imagine what someone could walk away. I'd imagine people walk away from B-Bar and feel like maybe it's like, is this some sort of like similar to what you did in Tennessee? Cause that experience could
Mhm.
transform you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think that experience is definitely inspiring me to host in a more intentional way. But like, even peeling back the layer of the retreat that we're on, like, have you ever met a rancher that didn't have a bad back or bad, hips or
Yeah.
knees? Like, they have our ailments, and yeah, what Bailey's doing at Eckham, and it's just so cool, like that intentionality of using your body when you're walking around the ranch and just go to pick something up. You're not just gonna throw at your back, like, I'm gonna do this with some intentionality to my system because it deserves that attention. And yeah, I think at the retreat it's similar. What's our relationship with the land? We're here to heal. The people who are most close to the land are the people who work it, and spend the most time on it. And so not only is that connection to your body, it's the connection to you and the place. And yeah, I think we would like to be a little bit more intentional with how we host and constantly be learning, right? It's that process that we keep talking about. It's like you're never done, and you can't be done anyways. Um, in order to just it's a constant learning process to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And I think about a friend of mine, Jim, that I worked for quite a few years, and he's from back home. He's got it's like a farm tour business, some agritourism. and I know he said he's turning 60 in a couple of months, and we were laughing because I think the average age of a farmer is 60.
Mhm.
And to what you said, and even to myself when I was younger, I'm so much healthier in my 30s
Mhm.
than I was in my 20s and my
Mhm.
teen years because I know how to move my body and I take care of it and I know how
Mhm.
to nourish it. And that's another thing that's so taboo and unheard of, especially in in more of the commercial
Mhm.
farming world. And a lot of it's just a lack of knowledge and like a lack of time to think about it,
Mhm.
especially depending on, some farmers are working 16 hours a day,
Mhm.
7 days a week. And you think, I don't have time to
Mhm.
think about how, if am I taking care of my body? Am I stretching? Am I
Mhm.
eating well? But if the average age of a farmer is 60, like, then that's got to be some healthy 60-year-olds do
Mhm.
that. I feel so fortunate and lucky that I live in a time where
Mhm.
that we focus on those things and have access to all this
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah. I think it's just being open, right? Like, Mark, who's the land and livestock manager, walked in one day and I was just laying on the floor because my back was, out of whack and like just laying flat. He's like, "Oh, I've been there." And I got there because I crashed my bike or something. I didn't pull it ranching that day or whatever, but it's just like, and then we start talking about our health, our body health, our mental health, all of that. And there's so much to learn just in that community. But yeah, you're right. There was probably a time where, you know, going to yoga or going to get a massage was looked at as like weak,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
part of it, put your, like, what do you have if this thing is all out of whack?
Yeah, I had just the craziest muscle imbalances, and I know I still do to an extent. But we did so much hay on the farm, and we did small square bales. I don't even know why they exist, honestly. But like 20 to 30,000 we'd put
Mhm.
up in a year, and you unload all those with no with no form, with no
Mhm.
like whatever makes the most sense.
Mhm.
And I always make that joke. You never see a farmer like doing a bicep curl.
Mhm.
They're using their whole body. A lot of it's really healthy, but you can
Mhm.
also just develop some crazy imbalances. And
Yeah.
I've had to work to correct some of
Mhm.
those, and it sounds almost idiotic. I know I've heard my mother say it too. She's like, "Oh man, going to the gym, like,
Mhm.
just give me like a wagon of hay to unload every day,"
Yeah.
because it just feels strange. Like,
Mhm.
why would I go pay to go exercise somewhere?
Mhm.
But it's an investment in, in a healthy life, not just,
Yeah. It's a balance, right? Because
yeah,
if you have hay that you have to stack, you're gonna stack the hay,
yeah.
whether you have a tractor or not. We used to do square bales too, and when I'd spend summers here, we'd be throwing square bales
Hmm.
onto the tractor or onto the trailer, and yeah, but it's balance. Like, it's good to do that. You have to get your work done. It's good physical work. It feels good. But then at the end of the day, if you know how to stretch a little bit, you're going to be better off for it. Like, I can guarantee that.
Yeah, I know now if I don't move much hay in my days, but I know I'd do it very differently. And
Mhm.
I'd probably be excited about it because this is a good workout, but I can be a little bit more conscious about how I'm
Mhm.
using my body and lifting things. And I'm not just like the mindset then was get this done and get through the day and get this in the barn before it gets
Mhm.
rained on because we just spend so much time
Yeah.
and money to get it this far.
Well, if anybody needs haystacked, it sounds like Tim's got you covered.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have a horse that was having some issues. Me and my fiance, and we had to pick up a few square bales.
Mhm.
I picked up 7 in my Tacoma. I swear I used to put close to 100 in my old Ford
Mhm.
8-foot bed. And I was laughing. I was going to text a buddy from back home and be like, I picked up 7 bales today and I think I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
It's just, it brings back memories for better and worse. But
Mhm.
they were
Oh,
valuable
yeah.
memories.
Mhm.
Anything else, man? Anything else anyone should know about you or the ranch or what's going on?
Well, we're just excited to be a part of the community. We hope to provide beef that people can buy, not just over onto the doorsteps of luxury homes, but on everybody's doorstep who wants to buy a healthy product. Same thing with our retreats. We hope to host people in the local area, from the national or international basis that want to come and heal. And, come just say hey, whether that's a phone call or email to check in. If you see me on the street wearing this yellow hat or whatever, just say hi. We're always open to do a ranch tour and show you the place and talk about what we do. I've really enjoyed when people just reach out and want to learn more. We're open books, and we hope to be that leader in the community who people get to learn more about hospitality and agriculture from.
You keep selling me every time you talk about it. So I hope to find myself down there for a weekend or something
Yeah.
because I know it'll be fun and it'll be beneficial and peaceful and everything else. What website, social, where are you guys there?
Yeah, check us out at bbar.com. Our website is where you can see a lot about the entire operation. Our social media, when I post, it's usually, pretty quirky and fun. That's at bbar ranch mt. My favorite source of sharing our story is through our newsletter. So I do a monthly newsletter, just basically what's happened this month and telling it from our perspective, not just, around the table with people working. So follow our B-Bar Gazette.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.